Greetings, comrades. There are quite a number of audios that are circulating on WhatsApp discussing the issue of applying for general work visas for the holders of the Zimbabwe exemption permits. One of my old friends is circulating these videos saying it is wrong for people to be applying for general work visas. People should stay in the ZEP because according to him, the minister said the ZEP expires in 2025 and says if you move out of the ZEP, you will not be able to renew. In some of the audios that I've had the opportunity to listen, which is why we need to clarify certain things, is that some of the issues that he raises, he is correct, but in other issues that he raises, I think he is missing the point. Let's look into the background. On the 25th of November 2021, government announced that it was going to discontinue with the ZEP and gave holders of ZEP a 12-month grace period. So in theory, the ZEP expired on the 31st of December 2021 and it was not renewed. From then, from the 25th of November 2025, we were under what is called, holders of ZEP were under what was called a grace period, which kept being extended until the Minister of Home Affairs, the then Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Mtswaledi, then granted that extension or a directive that one, he said, if you are a holder of a Zimbabwe exemption permit and you wish not to move out of ZEP, you are free to do so, to stay in the ZEP, but you will have to pack your bags by the end of 2024. This is what Minister Mtswaledi, through the directive, said. He said, if you don't apply for a waiver, if you don't apply to move to another visa, by end of the year 2024, meaning 31st of December 2024, if you are to be very generous, you will not be able to return back to South Africa, or you will be considered undocumented. He then said, those that have applied for waivers, that have waiver receipts, even if your waiver is not out, you will be in South Africa until end of December, end of 2025, right? He then introduced what is called the exemption, which also expires end of 2025. So when my old comrade then says ZEP expires in 2025, it only expires in 2025 to those, one, that have proof that have applied either for a waiver or to move to any mainstream visa. Remember, the then minister also said that a receipt acts as an extension itself. So if you have a receipt, it means you are legal in the country because you are awaiting the outcome of your application. Two, we did also say in the last video that the minister has the powers in terms of the law to document any person in South Africa. Any person, if the minister feels that I need to document this person, and he has got reason to convince one, cabinet, two, the portfolio committee on home affairs, he can document anyone because the minister can't act alone. So the minister cannot just wake up in the morning, says I'm documenting these people without cabinet approval, without informing the portfolio committee on home affairs. This was the case in 2010 because it was a resolution of cabinet that yes, the minister has the power to document anyone. We support, that's what the cabinet said, we support, and it's a cabinet resolution that is special permits granted to people of Zimbabwe. And what were the special circumstances that led to the granting of the special permits in 2010? Firstly, there was a cholera outbreak in Zimbabwe, in Harare to be specific. So in trying to contain cholera, the government of South Africa said the only solidarity we can give is that we should not be deporting people back to their country when there is cholera. Let us accommodate them and grant them special permit while the government of Zimbabwe is busy trying to address the cholera outbreak. That was the first one of the reasons. The second reason was because people that had South African IDs fraudulently acquired, right? Their IDs were withdrawn from them. We have spoken about this. Remember that the United Nations Security Council said South Africa was a security risk because anyone can come to South Africa, get a document and travel. You remember that white lady some years ago who traveled to Uganda. So the United Nations in 2019 said South Africa is a security risk because its documents, passport IDs are vulnerable to be used by any person, and these people would then commit international crime. You remember during the President George Bush's term of office, when he declared war on terror following what had happened in 2001 in the USA, the bombings. So they said South Africa was a security risk. So the South African government trying to tighten and to respond to this opinion by the United Nations Security Council, it started to withdraw passports from those Zimbabweans that were traveling using passports. If you were at Beitbridge in January of 2010, they will withdraw a passport from you, South African passport, write you a letter and say continue in the Republic, but report at the head office in Pretoria and prove that you are South African. So about 5,000 passports were withdrawn through that exercise. And of course, later on, 1,000 people responded. So an amnesty then was granted to such individuals to say, yes, we have withdrawn the passport because other people were prosecuted. Some people were asked to pay a fine of 3,000 rands. We used to go at magistrate courts in Pretoria when people were appearing in court. So people have been asked to pay 3,000 rands fine or spend 3 months in prison. Later on, the government said, okay, we are giving you amnesty. We are no longer going to prosecute you, the 5,000 of you that have withdrawn South African passports from you. We are going to give you an amnesty, and we are not going to return you back to your country of origin. We will grant you a special permit known as the ZEP. Right? And then it asked everyone that had fraudulently acquired a South African ID from who is Zimbabwean by birth to surrender the ID in exchange of one, that will not be prosecuted, two, that will be given a permit for 4 years to stay in South Africa, DZP, which is now ZEP. Right? And also that amnesty, those that were holders of Asylum documents. We see now people are rushing to apply for Asylum documents, and we have spoken about Asylum documents. So it was the other condition. And these were special circumstances. So people were then granted an amnesty and given DZP. Third point, the circumstances that then the South African government said, look, let's grant special permits, was because Zimbabwe, emerging from a political crisis in 2008 through SADC facilitation dialogue on the 15th of September 2008 had signed global political agreement, the 3 parties represented in parliament. And by February 2009, the 3 parties in parliament had constituted what was called an inclusive government, or if you want, a government of national unity. So the South African government saying, in assisting the people of Zimbabwe as they emerge from the political crisis in trying to address their economic fundamentals. So instead of us returning their residents, let's grant them special permits. So those were 3 special circumstances that led to the granting of permits. So we'll then, in the next video, discuss about those who are saying responding particularly to this audio to say people should stay in the ZEP. They should not go and apply for a general work visa. I will do that in the next video. Otherwise, have a great day. Goodbye. Like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're on TikTok, please do follow us.